Welcome. I'm Cathy Williamson with Goodwill Works, and this is my next segment of Issues and Insights. And today my guest is Mr. Gary Hamm. He's with ApotheCare Pharmacy. Thank you, sir, for taking time to come and visit with us.
Thanks for having me.
The world is different with us now, and things that are going on that we haven't dealt with, have some things we've never dealt with. We're going to talk about Covet and maybe a tiny bit about monkeypox, but then it's getting school time, so we have to start thinking about the kids and what they're going to need and those sorts of things. So, Mr. Hamm, tell us about yourself, your background, how you got into this industry, and just that sort of information, if you would.
Yeah, well, just real quickly, I am a Hardin County native. Mm-hmm. I graduated from the University of Kentucky College of Pharmacy in '78.
Okay.
I did go to work for some of the big box stores. Probably about half my career was spent there. And I reached a point in my career I didn't feel like the profession was going the way I thought it should. Mm-hmm. So I decided to go in business, and in 1998 we started ApotheCare Pharmacy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, how many years do you have to go to college to get to be a pharmacist? I was just curious.
There again, that's changed over the years. So actually, I went. You have to have prerequisites, and that can take 2 to 4 years. Some people do go ahead and get a degree.
Okay.
I was able to do them in about 2.5 years. I went to night.
But it's still a commitment. It's
and then pharmacy school itself was 3 years.
Okay.
Now it's 4 years, and they actually get a doctorate degree.
Wow.
So you're younger. I call them younger pharmacists, but probably the last 20 years, most of the pharmacists graduate and have what they call a PharmD. It's actually a doctor of pharmacy.
Wow. Okay. So it's a long-term commitment, and I've always thought when you walk into a pharmacy, all of those pills are on the shelf. And I've always wondered, how do they keep up with what works on which ones you use and all of those sorts of things. So I just imagine that there's a lot of studying, a lot of education that has to be put in place.
Yeah, we have to have a lot of unique talents. It's a lot going on there. It's a business, but it's a profession, and we're really not appointment based, so it's kind of walk in. So there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
We're billing insurance, a lot of moving parts to the profession, and it's really changed a lot. Our profession, I brag all the time, pharmacy has done a good job of accelerating and promoting their profession over the years and making it better. So.
Yeah, and I use one of your pharmacies.
Well, thank you.
And so what has impressed me is the customer service.
Yes.
I like being able to walk in and the pharmacists know my name and have that conversation. You were talking about the big box. They've kind of lost that one-on-one getting to know folks.
Yes.
Where you guys do know who we are and you do take time to stop and talk to us, and that goes a long way.
Yeah, well, thank you, and that was my intention. That's one of the reasons I went in business. If I can't practice my profession the way I want to, what's the point? But we are really here for the patient. We are a patient advocate, and certainly as the medical profession has changed, I tell people now with all the electronic prescriptions and fax machines and everything that's going on, we're actually interacting less with other healthcare professionals. So you can kind of get lost in that. So we are there for the patient. We're not there for the insurance company or some big corporation. We're there for you. And I think that comes through and shows.
And it absolutely shows.
And I really appreciate that compliment, because that is our intent. Yeah. And patients need that. As COVID has showed us, we are people, social creatures, and we need that reassurance. We need that interaction. We need to be able to ask those questions and get them answered and have confidence in the answer. So thank you very much.
Somebody stop long enough to talk to us.
Yes.
That's the thing. You get, again, the big box. Yeah. They're coming at you all day, and you're in a line, you're a number, and it's move on because the next person's in line. But your folks always stop and talk and will answer any questions, and those things mean a lot.
There's a lot of changes going on in pharmacy, and we'll talk about a few of them here quickly. But I tell everybody, independent pharmacy is the future of pharmacy. We are light years ahead of the chains. The chains do a lot of things well, but it's mainly delivering a product. And there are really good pharmacists at some of the big box stores. But really, some of the stuff we're doing at ApotheCare Pharmacy is really unique and not available at other places.
Yeah. Well, in fact, delivery is one. Won't you deliver the medicines to someone?
Yes, and that really came in handy during the COVID thing, because people were afraid to get out, and elderly people were especially afraid to get out, and we could deliver their medicines. So
I saw that sign, and I thought that's pretty good. That's going above and beyond.
That's a nice safety net, and we've been able to continue, even with the gas prices and the labor shortages, we've been able to keep full staffed and keep going and taking care of our customers.
Okay, so you mentioned Covet.
Yes.
So that's the first thing we have on our list, and sir, we were talking before we went online about how the last 30 months have just changed. We're dealing with something we've never had to deal with before, and the unknown, the uncertainty. It's scary.
Yes.
You know, I say all the time, if we've learned anything, we've learned COVID taught us to stop.
Exactly. And
to pay attention, and to not only pay attention to our own health of our family and our friends, and appreciate. So
you hit the nail on the head, and early on I was so proud of our staff. We were presented with, do we want to give COVID vaccines or not? Because the government put a lot of requirements on us. I mean, a lot. And we had to go back and retrain and restudy stuff and learn all about COVID and the different things. And of course, you know, PPE, protective equipment, and you know, all the stuff we've been doing, hand sanitizers, masks, gloves, and all that. So it was a very challenging training, and we just have a great team of pharmacists and technicians, and they all voted to do it, and we rolled up our sleeves and dug in and did it. And I never imagined we would give as many COVID vaccines as we could give, as we did. And in fact, I think I pretty much worked every day for a year or two. Any day I was off, we had businesses and factories, and can you come to our facility and give COVID vaccines? And I didn't turn anybody down. If they asked me, I went, and we did it. And I think it's really paid off in this community, in this state.
Yeah, there was a time husband and I needed a booster, and one of your locations weren't giving that day, but they picked up the phone, called another location. They were giving that day. We got in our car, drove to that other location, so that we could get our vaccine. And again, the fact that you're spread out among in the Hardin County area, it gave us an opportunity. You know, we felt like we needed it that day.
Yeah, I think we have. Well, of course, we've started in '98, like I said earlier, and we've grown to 5 locations, and we have more pharmacies than anybody in Hardin County, and we've got the county covered. We even have a store in Vine Grove, one of our smaller communities, and of course Radcliffe, and then we've got E-Town pretty well covered now. So I'm glad that it's, you know, our goal has kind of paid off. We've made it handy for people, and we're here for the patients. Yeah.
So what are the latest recommendations on the COVID booster shots? I hear you just got an update back on July the 14th.
Yes, and it's I've been reviewing it, and it's depending on the vaccine, it has changed. It's not really changed, but so originally, of course, it was the 2-shot series with Pfizer and Moderna was 2 shots, and then J&J is 1.
Right.
So now they're, of course, still recommending the 2 shots of the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine.
Okay.
The J&J now, they recommend 2 shots. So a lot of people only got 1. They need to probably come in and get that second J&J.
Oh. Because we got the J&J, and then when we got a booster, we got a different booster.
Yes.
And maybe that's the other solution, is that our booster was not Johnson & Johnson. Our booster was one of the others.
Correct.
And that's been several months ago, so it absolutely can change again.
Yes. So Correct, yes. Now, the J&J, they are recommending when you get a booster to get one of the mRNA, which would be Pfizer or Moderna,
And
a
that's
slightly
what we
different
did.
vaccine.
That's what we did.
And now with Moderna and Pfizer, early on they said stick with the same vaccine. Now they're saying, say you got Moderna, you want to switch to Pfizer, that's perfectly fine now.
Wow.
And now they've lowered the booster time frame to 4 months. It started out, remember at first they were saying, well, we're going to probably do 8 months. Then they went to 6. Now it's 4. So they're up to the 4th shot or the second booster.
Every 4 months now.
Every 4 months.
So we could look to see if it was more than 4 months ago when we got that, we might need another booster.
Yes, if it's been over 4 months, you could get a booster. Currently, they're only recommending the 4th booster for immunocompromised patients.
Okay.
And some of them can get up to 6 shots. So they can actually get more if they have certain conditions and immunocompromised. They could check with the pharmacy and see. But if you're 50 and older, they're recommending the 4th shot.
I qualify.
Yeah, me too.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah. So I was talking to one of the stores on the way over here. I thought that kind of tapered off, but they have given several boosters today. So we are still giving quite a few boosters. So if anybody needs one and they haven't gotten it and they qualify, we certainly have them in. I know it's kind of gotten off the radar screen. Now, Kentucky was in a little bit of Hardin County was in a little bit of a spike recently.
I heard that too.
We still may be. It's hard to say day to day. And so we saw an uptick in people coming in and getting boosters.
Well, here's the thing that just came to my mind. The generation that's 50 and above, we're still paying attention. You know, that's something that that's how we were programmed, is to pay attention to those sorts of things. Some of the folks that might be in a younger age group might have kind of gone on with life and not paying as much attention.
Yeah.
But when those recommendations came out and there were certain criteria, I mean, my generation, we're sitting there, yes, I'm that, yes, I'm that, yes, I have that, I'm getting this shot.
Right.
You know, that was our mindset, and it still is. We're still paying attention. So that's probably the folks that are doing your uptick is folks that have heard about things that are going on, especially with the uptick here in Hardin County. I had heard of several situations where some folks have gotten it another time. They've had COVID once before, but they've gotten it again. And so those sorts of conversations or that sort of activity will make us start, okay, let's look at it again. Is this the time? Do we qualify? Is our 4 months period passed or whatever it might be? Because we're the generation that's going to pay attention to that.
Yes. And certainly I understand a lot of the public's, questioning some of the things that have gone on with COVID. The media can sensationalize things, but I was talking to some of our pharmacists today just to get their opinion and feedback, and they really feel like we did the right thing. Early on, there was a lot of unknowns. I really feel like if we wouldn't have really got on this vaccination program, it would have been a lot worse. A lot of statistics, I have firsthand knowledge of like people that were in the ICU with COVID had not been vaccinated.
Right.
The ones that had been may have gotten hospitalized, but lesser cases. We all know people, of course, that have gotten COVID that have been vaccinated, but usually it's not as bad of a case. So it's been kind of a moving target and updated information.
That's it. Exactly.
I understand the mRNA vaccine was a new technology. A lot of people were concerned about that. A lot of people may not have wanted to get it. But overall, as we get more information and I look back, even with the unknowns, I really feel like we did the right thing. And some really great news along that, they are coming out with a new vaccine.
A totally different new product from a
COVID vaccine. And it's going to be called Novovax.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be available possibly by the end of July. And it's more of a traditional protein-based vaccine. So for those people that were scared of the new vaccine, new technology, whatever. This
Here's
is
an
a more
option.
here's an option, a more traditional vaccine that they could be interested in. It's still going to be for 18 and over. Like I said, it's non-mRNA, and it still will be a two course, 21 days apart, and so.
Okay, you've used NRMA.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What is
mRNA?
What
is
does
what I
that
meant.
mean? What does that stand for?
That stands for messenger RNA. It's the way this vaccine is made. It's kind of complicated, and I hope I can simplify it. I'm not sure I totally
understand.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I understand all the technical
put
stuff.
It in layman
so
terms.
basically, you're injected. You have a spike protein. It gets in your cells, and your body's actually making the vaccine, or it makes your body make the vaccine, or the vaccine itself. It's basically not really the vaccine. So the vaccine causes your cells to make their own antibodies through replicating the DNA or RNA.
Yeah.
So, and that's why it was controversial, because
well, I knew a few folks that took the vaccine and they got a little sick.
Mm-hmm.
And so this might be a good option for those folks because it's a different way of creating the immunity other than injecting.
Yes.
Okay, so that's kind of where my mind went.
Yeah, so this is just going to be a great option. Yeah. They're not willing to say quite yet, but there's different variants out. This one may be more effective against some of those variants. I think that's another objective, but they have not confirmed that yet. So that's another thing. We're hearing these variants are coming out, and they're not as, they're more.
Potent is the word I always,
they're more communicable.
Okay.
They're easier to get, but then you don't get as sick.
But they're not as potent. They don't cause as much damage.
But who knows which way this is going? Hopefully we're on the downside of it. I really think we are as a country. But like you said, it's taught us a lot of things. Washing your hands is not really a bad thing. Wearing a mask, if it helps protect others or you, that's certainly something we can do. And we've also known that if we're all isolated in our homes, we would rather be out.
Less likely to have the opportunity to be exposed.
But that wasn't ideal either. People like to get out.
Oh gosh, no. Yeah, we were isolated, and like our children. I talk about our children and how they lost so much of those months. When they were isolated and such. But again, we just don't know what we don't know about this disease, or how, I don't know exactly what to call it. But we know that everyone's continuing to watch it and do what they can to protect us, and so stay tuned is kind of how it turns.
It's rapidly changing information, and it's hard to keep up with everything. Yeah. And then, like I said, the media, has had a lot of information on it, but. So the next thing that's on my conversation list here, or that we wanted to talk about, is that flu shot. We're coming into the fall. Correct.
And so we all roll up our sleeves to get our flu shot. So that's standard flu shots that we've been getting every year. Is that something that continuously gets updated, or?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things new this year. They were talking about a combination COVID flu shot. I don't think it's going to be available.
It's not going to make it yet.
But they actually are working on that.
Wow, okay.
We are already getting our flu shots in. It's only July, but we are already getting in, and of course there will still be there are different versions of the flu shot depending on your needs, but most people, we have the regular flu shot and then the high dose.
Okay.
And then we have one that's so purified that it's recombinant produced, so there's no egg in it. It's a little more expensive, but some people...
They might have an egg allergy.
Yes.
That's what I just heard. I didn't know about that, but my thought was that folks may have an egg allergy, and so this would allow them to continue to get a flu shot,
correct,
but not have that reaction.
Yeah, and not have to worry about it.
Okay.
The last few years, we've seen a transition from the trivalent shot, which means it has 3 flu variants in it that it protects you from, to quadrivalent. So all of our shots last year were quadrivalent. Same this year will be quadrivalent.
So there's 4.
4, it protects you from 4 strands.
Okay.
And what they do is they just basically, based on what's going on over in the Eastern civilizations, they look at what's going on there, and as it comes around the globe, they try to predict what strands we'll have here. Some years they do pretty well, other years not as well, but still they do a pretty good job, and it will protect you. Now, that said, even in the years where maybe the variant that's out there is different than what was in the flu shot, it's still been protecting you about 50% of the time. And they're also saying that if you get vaccinated, it is a yearly shot. However, now they're saying some of the older strands, and if you get it every year, you're having some residual immunity still.
Okay.
So you'll be better protected if you get it every year.
So what are the current recommendations to get a flu shot? Is it like an age or certain, like medical, like diabetes and high blood pressure? Is that just an age thing?
Well, it's very similar to like COVID. A lot of vaccinations. So certainly there are the elderly and people with high risk diseases and like
high
diabetes.
Risk is what I was looking
diabetes
the words.
Would be an example, or respiratory problems like COPD would be more high risk people that they highly recommend to get the shot, of course, but really everybody should get it. Some age groups have more severe, like real younger kids really need to get the flu shot. Elderly people. A lot of times your younger to middle age aren't as, if they're healthy and everything, good immune systems aren't as susceptible as getting it. But sometimes they get the worst cases.
Wow.
So, so really they recommend everyone. We've done, here again, the big corporations seem to want to me, jump the gun a little bit and get the vaccines first, so to speak. I've always stuck with the traditional recommendations of October 1st is a good guideline to get it.
That's the timeline you start thinking about it. Absolutely.
And the reason is you get your peak effect in 2 to 3 months, your antibody titer, and sometimes January and February and March are some of your worst months. So I've actually seen some people that have gotten that early flu shot, maybe like now, and then by the time it's flu season, they're telling me your antibody titer's wearing off. You need to get another one. So to avoid that, you
just have to stay on top of it, Mr. Gary. That's what I'm coming up with as we're talking.
You really do, but keep an eye on things because sometimes we have some early outbreaks, and if there's certainly an early outbreak, it would take a week to 2 to get your immunity from a flu shot. So, there have been some years where we hear people getting the flu in August or September, and if that was to happen, you would probably want to go on and get a flu shot.
Well, I mentioned early in my conversation about monkeypox. I think we're going to pass on it because we've had a lot of information we've shared, and there's a lot we don't know about monkeypox. So it's out there. We're hearing a little bit about it. I'm pretty confident that you guys are going to stay on top of it. And we're going to know what we need to know.
Yeah, I could just make a quick comment. There's only been 4 cases in Kentucky. There is a vaccine available, so no need to worry. And personal cleanliness, washing your hands. If you if you were around someone that had a close personal contact, would be a concern, and you might be a candidate for the vaccine.
There you go. All right. The last thing I had on our conversation was kids getting their immunizations. It's almost school starts next month.
Right.
And so I went out and looked at the Hardin County educational page and all of that. So it's this Commonwealth of Kentucky Certificate of Immunization Status. You and I looked at this and we went, wow. Now, it does start back in preschool or in
Kindergarten,
that's what it said. But I was just surprised at all of the things that are listed. But that's something that parents have to pay attention to. If they've got a kid going into kindergarten, they can go on that webpage. It will work them through, show them everything they have to have, not only from an immunization standpoint, but they have to have a health care exam. You even mentioned earlier before we were online that if you go into college, there's another type of immunization you have to have. So this looks, this is pages, and it looks like a pretty in-depth thing that today's parents really need to get on and pay attention to, so that their kids are not only meeting all of the qualifications, but safe and getting what they need.
I agree. It's really evolved since we've been kids. There's a lot of vaccines on there.
Yes, it has.
I highly recommend any parent to, like you said, go on this website, get with their pediatrician. There may be an option with the school nurse, and make sure they've got their kid fully vaccinated to avoid some inconvenience. Same thing with college. If you're going to college, a few years ago they passed some legislation. I think it was due to maybe foreign exchange students being there that may have come here and not have very well vaccinated. So they have a new criteria in colleges of the number of vaccines you have to here. And as you know, over the years, we've had some different outbreaks, like that hepatitis A outbreak we had a few years ago. There's just been, more things out there. We have more vaccines. And I would just like to say there are a lot of vaccines, but when I was in school and there was a lot of diseases out there, you would always hear, if there was only a vaccine. So now we have these vaccines. Overall, they're safe and effective. There's side effects to everything.
Absolutely.
If you get the disease, that's a bad side effect.
Absolutely.
And there are medications. All medications are safe, pretty safe and effective, but there are side effects that some people get.
I'm smiling because if I look at the paperwork that comes with my prescriptions, I'm not sure I would take some medicines that I have, but that's just in general.
They make the government regulates those, and they make every side effect that's shown up, and that's where your doctor or pharmacist comes in real handy. So you can ask them and say, look, of all these side effects, we rarely see any of them. If you do, call us. But we can tell you a particular drug. Now, this drug has been known to cause this. We can tell you what to watch out for.
Absolutely.
And give you some assurance there. So, when you, like you said, when you look at that,
it's pages and pages.
Look at the TV ads.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so they can go on the webpage, Hardin County Educational webpage, and find out what's out there. Sir, we have covered a lot of information.
And
I appreciate you coming and taking the time to give us some background and to kind of maybe make us understand better so much of what we see in the media, so much of what we hear. We're not sure if it's the truth or it's whatever someone else wants us to believe. So I appreciate you. Again, we're going to put the ApotheCare contact information, your telephone number on the screen at the end. And again, I just want to thank you so much for coming and visiting. Your last thoughts?
Well, thank you so much I always enjoy coming out here, and it's great to get the information in the community. And certainly, you're correct. You can call any of our stores if you're unsure and you need a question answered. We're here to help you answer it and get through all this information. And then just one last thing. They've actually come out with some antivirals for COVID. One of them's Paxlovid, one of them's Montelukast, and we have them.
That sounds like a whole nother show.
It does. But just to let you know, if you are having to get COVID, there's actually an antiviral out there now.
Absolutely.
And yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. Cathy Williamson with Issues and Insight. We'll see you next time.